Julien, you did not leave your old school. You were expelled for being cruel to another boy. I'm sure your father has told you stories about when I was a young girl.
He says you don't really like to talk about it.
I don't. But now, I think, for your sake, I must.
What a tremendously beautiful film Whitebird is. It's long needed, and congratulations on it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, yes.
She is just a wonderful, wonderful storyteller, and this story that she tells needs to be heard today.
Yes, it does. I think we're very lucky. This film took quite a long time to come out for various reasons, and I feel so grateful that it did take that time to come out, because I think this is such a great moment in our lives, political lives, for a film like this to come out. So I'm very grateful about that. Grand-mère is grandmother, grandma. Yes, has her, as people of that generation do, have extraordinary stories to tell. Extraordinary stories that are so beyond our comprehension, because the world did move on, and the world, we found peace, and we found a welfare state in Europe, and I got an education. If I'd been born before the Second World War, I would not have had an education. I would have had to leave school at 14 and gone into work, because I came from a sort of, working class family. So, life changed enormously. But anyone, we've lost that generation now, but, they went through an incredibly, unbelievably challenging time, 1,000 times more challenging than anything. I mean, I'm not talking about Palestine or Sudan. I mean, obviously in Iraq, there are places where people are profoundly challenged. But in our Western world, no one faces anything like what the world faced in those days. So I think it's important to remind people of that, and to do it in this way that is so loving and shows the beauty in humanity, above all, the love in humanity.
Mark, your ability to bring out the heart and soul in a film is absolutely, I would think it's a God-given gift, because when you're a storyteller, and the things that you have done in the past, you make an audience actually feel. How do you do that?
It's interesting. When I grew up, we were 3 brothers. My oldest brother was very smart, and my middle brother was very handsome. And I was not as smart and as handsome. and then I started writing poetry or little paintings, and I realized I got more love than either of those. And I thought, when I make people feel, I get more love. And ultimately, all what we want in life is love. We want to be loved. And I felt that I had the ability or the gift given to make people feel. I thought that's what I would wanted to do in life, because I realized it made them happy. And so I pursued filmmaking, and especially movies that, when I read stories, they affect me profoundly, like Whitebird. And R.J. Palacio wrote Wonder, and then she wrote Whitebird, and she expanded on the themes of kindness. It really, when I read the script for the first time, I started tearing up, and I said, I need to make this movie.
And I'm glad you did. Our time is so short, I have to say goodbye, but Dame Helen, it is always an honor and a privilege to chat with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You forget many things in life, but you never forget kindness. Because when kindness can cost you your life, it becomes like a miracle.
I want you to find our American family and make things right. All right, Dad. Now! I want you to call them now.
Hello, not interested.
Hello, I am your cousin, Kieran.
I love the fact that it hits all these notes about kind of a fish out of water and family and mending fences. You're a co-writer on this. How was the idea? Where did the idea spring from?
The idea was me years ago saying I want to go to Ireland and make a movie. I had been to Ireland 30 years ago and loved it, and I just always been drawn to it. And for reasons I don't quite understand, it calls to me. Mm-hmm. And I as referenced in the film, the movie Local Hero was a big movie for me, and I always loved that. I once met Peter Rieger, who starred in Local Hero, and I said, "Let me ask you what was that like making it?" And he looked at me, trying to be gentle. He goes, "Exactly like you think." I said, geez, really? It was that beautiful. He goes, "It was that beautiful." But so it was just coming up with an idea, and I was playing with this idea that I go to Ireland, and I was banging around for years, and then finally somebody introduced me to Wally, this young writer, and I said, well, maybe we should write this together. So it's always helpful to bounce stuff off, but I always knew it was going to be me, and I don't think I didn't have the audacity to think, well, we'll get Colm Meaney. But when the script was done, and what was the big thing was finding that story, and that it was really a little microcosm of solving the world's problems one family at a time. Let's see if we can start with these two idiots. And then when the script, we heard that Colm had gotten the script and responded to it, we were just in heaven. So,
Colm, did you know Paul before the film?
No. I was a fan, an admirer of Paul's for years, but we'd never crossed paths. We'd never worked together, even met socially. So it was I was sent the script and just delighted when I read it. I mean, I read it straight through for a city and read it again. Look at the character, and I just thought the writing was wonderful, and I had the feeling that I thought Paul must have spent a lot of time in Ireland because he got the complexities of Ireland, modern Ireland, not the Darby O'Gill Ireland. He got that very clearly in the script, and the diversity, the modern and the kind of ancient coexisting together, so I figured he must have spent a lot of time there. But then when we finally met, I found out he didn't. So
I think you guys have solved world peace.
Well, that too.
I'm ready for it. Guys, such an honor and a pleasure to chat with you, Paul, again. And Colm, it was so nice to see you.
Thank you.
What are you looking for?
Just give me the girl.
You won't have Alice. But if I find you something else to eat? Are you hungry? Where is he?
You're underestimating me.
I mean, with each film, you try to tackle. I mean, look, I think for me, it all starts with something that already has some sort of deep meaning in your life. And for Little Bites, for us, it was certainly being parents and all that entails. And so, you mentioned these, history of horror. It's like that is for me the real beauty about horror and science fiction is that the ability to represent real life conflict, trauma, whatever, but represent it through fantastic things like monsters or robots or ghosts or paranormal. And I think that's the most exciting way to tell stories. And so for us to be able to tackle this subject matter of the struggle of parenthood and protecting a child in this crazy world, but represent all those threats with this monster was like a really exciting challenge.
Chrissy, it is about a mother protecting her child. Whatever else happens, it kind of boils down to that parental responsibility. How was it to put on her skin?
It was a heavy character. I've done a few interviews about this now, and it's the heaviest thing I've ever done, and I think I lost myself the most in this character. I spend a lot of time just, existing in this uncomfortable scenario, and, you're being touched and bitten and sort of verbally abused as well. And, and the whole time I just kept my daughter in the back of my head and thinking about her and just how I would do anything for her. So of course I'm going to endure this. And it was, it was a lot. It took me almost a month to like snap out of my funk when I was done shooting this. But it was also really rewarding because I felt like everything was very organic. All my reactions and I really enjoyed having different characters all the time. Like almost every day we'd have somebody new on set that would interact with me, and I would get almost like have a natural like different reaction to. So it was really fun as an actor. You don't get to do that all the time, and I was in like every scene in this movie except for one. So it was a lot to take on. I basically cried all day for like 12 days straight.
Yeah, we've been together for over 10 years. I've never seen her cry more than that 2 weeks.
Don't ever make her cry.
No.
I know that you're a musician, and does that run through your directing? Do you hear rhythms and cadences in the projects that you do?
Yeah, I mean, certainly when we get to the editing process, it is all about feel and timing, and I think that's the direct relationship to music is, but even sense. I mean, for me, making music is always about, it's really instinct. It's not technique. I always say talent is overrated because it's not always about how many notes you can play. It's where you play them and how you play them. And I think filmmaking is the same thing. It really is like, to me, there's no rule book to where you place the camera, but an inch to the right or to the left can really change the feeling of that frame. So, yeah, for me, I think I definitely relate filmmaking to making music in terms of just that aesthetic and that instinctual thing that you have to have.
Yeah, Elton John once told me that it's not the notes, it's the spaces between the notes that make the music.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, look, everything is a form of communication. And it's like you have to be able to communicate. It doesn't matter how much you know, how much knowledge you have about your technique. It's all about communicating an idea. And yes, sometimes it's what you're not doing is as important as what you are doing.
Chrissy, wow, what a cast you have, and working with Barbara Crampton has got to be just manna from heaven.
So I've been lucky enough to I'm very close friends with Barbara Crampton and Bonnie Aarons and now Heather, and I'm part of this women in horror actress group, and we all spend a lot of time together. Barbara kind of really initiated making sure all these women come together. And so, yeah, it was interesting when this movie came about, and I was like, I think Barbara would be really good for this character. And Spider agreed. I was like, I never see her play characters like this. And the one thing I was nervous about was, I have to really hate Barbara. And if you know Barbara at all, she's a really hard person to hate. So that was something I was afraid of. But, luckily I was already living in this character, so she made it easy. She's so, she has so much experience, and that was the same with, my scenes with Heather. It was just sort of a very natural, honest conversation that we fell into, and I just, I remember thinking while I was shooting with her, like, I totally understand why this woman is such a star. She has such a quality and such a level of experience. So, yeah, I feel really lucky. I mean, I always wanted to do a film where I'm surrounded by all these amazing horror icons that are women, and, getting to do that in this film where everyone's sort of playing characters you don't expect. You don't expect the nun to be playing someone's mother. You know what I mean? And so that was sort of a dream for Bonnie and I, because we became close, where that, I was like, one day you have to play my mother in something, and we made that happen. So that was really cool.
That's so nice. Listen, my time is all up.
Already? Wow, that was fast.
We'll have to get together on some kind of other format and do a longer interview.
Yeah, we'd love to. Yeah.
Would love that. Thank
Anytime.
you so much.
Thank you.
What is that?
Your meal.
My meal? I don't eat the dead.
He's not dead. Yeah. At least I don't think he's dead.
You haven't thought this through.
No.
When I was little, I wanted to be an astrophysicist.
I don't even know what that is.
It's the study of the universe. I mean, look at it. No one can convince me that what happens here is the beginning and end of everything.
Oh, wow, congratulations on She Taught Love. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful statement about love and all that. Talk to me about Mally and putting on her skin.
I mean, that's actually such a good way of describing it, as like putting on her skin, because I think that's what it felt like, was that she was living and breathing before I ever actually spoke the words. It felt really humbling, and like a lot of growing pains over the course of wearing her, because she represents a lot of the women who gave me the privilege to be able to do the thing that I'm doing now. And so it felt like this ability to finally say thank you to a lot of them, and especially knowing about like the origin of this character from Daryl, it felt like saying thank you to even just like a generation of women that came before us. But she's a tough cookie. She's a tough cookie, and like this confidence that she exudes, it was a wild ride.
And I'm glad for that, because that exercises you as an actor, and it just tasks you, and it's great. And Daryl, you wrote it, you're executive producing it, you're starring in it. What hat do you like to wear most?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a very good question, Tony, because I enjoy all three of them for various reasons. I think the writing is probably I would say the writing is the most exciting, because you sort of get to build the world and you get to live with the characters before actors get to live with them. But then I would say, the producing part of it, because you're seeing how it's all put together and being a part of that. But then I would say the acting, right? Because if I'm alongside her, it's just like, that's a dream, So, it maybe in the other spaces, my other works, I would say the writing and the producing, but because I get to be with her, like, I would say the acting was my favorite part of this.
Frank's character, there's something, there's something musical about him. I don't know how to exactly put it, but there is a rhythm to him.
Yeah, it's so funny you said that, Tony, because you really see it, how it is that. Like I do talk about like writing in like a sort of like the musicality of how he moves, and like the rhythm, which it's like a bop, but then it's like it's like an orchestra, but then it's like a rap song, but then it's like then it's country music, then it's like there's just sort of all these like different like layers and these variations to sort of like the music that he sort of moves to. So it's really interesting that you said that, because that is like, it's very deeply rooted in like the construction of the character.
He's his own soundtrack.
Yeah. That's literally, we talk, yeah.
In our final minute or something, can you tell me what you think audiences are going to take away from this deeply romantic and wonderful film?
I think there's something in the fact that the love that is in the title is not only of like romantic love, but a familial love, a communal love, a love of friendship. And so I hope that people will take away the fact that all of these types of love are just as important and fill us up in just as equal amount of ways. And that it's not so scary to receive love. Because I think sometimes we feel as though we're not deserving, so we block it off. But love is given to be received.
Exactly. Well, my time is up. I'm giving you a virtual hug right now.
Yeah, right back to you, Tony.
Come visit me in Salt Lake.
We're coming.
We will actually.
Coffee and skiing. You said it, so we're coming.
It's true.
Harley will give you all my information.
All right, there it is.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure.
Look at that. It's so sad.
Thanks for joining us for Screen Chatter. If you'd like to follow us online, visit us at screenchatter.com. You can check out our many interviews, and you could also check out my reviews. And if you'd like to follow us on social media, we're available on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Again, thanks for joining us. I'm Tony Toscano, and we'll see you next week right here for another Screen Chatter.